Welcome to Legacy Sips and Tips podcast with your geeky host, Lindsay Wheeler, where we talk about everything from death, preparing for your future through estate planning, life, the occasional breakup, entrepreneurship, general nerdery, and of course travel, snowboard, and always wine. Welcome to Legacy Sips and Tips with your host, Lindsay, and today we're going to talk about one of my most favorite things in the whole wide world is snowboarding. Snowboarding. So how I got into snowboarding was this. Back in the 1842s when I was born, snowboarding was a new and upcoming thing because that's how old I am. It was super different. It was fun. It was more kind of the alternative edgy thing. And all of my friends were skiers because naturally that's where we live. We have the mountains and people would go to the school program or they would just go up in the mountains with their family and they would ski. Snowboarding was kind of being a new thing and me being kind of the punk rock dick I was like, I'm not going to ski because that's for uptight, bougie people. We went up. I wasn't able to go as a kid like a lot of people were because my parents were night people and the school program was very early in the morning and my parents were like, I'm not getting up at 6 a.m. to drive you up to a mountain. So I ended up not doing the school program and didn't even learn to snowboard until I was 15. So I would go up with my friends. The first time I went up, they went to their mountain that they would take, their school would take them up to or their family would go to. And they talked me into putting skis on because that's how they all learned and that they felt that would be a good start and then transition into snowboarding if I wanted to. Well, being the klutzy person I am, I literally walked out onto the snow, put my skis on with my poles, and naturally, it's brand new. I fell over and was like, nope, no way, because poles went one way, I went the other way, skis went the other way, and was like, no way, no day. And literally walked right back in, got a snowboard, and then started from there. Back in 1942, when I was learning to snowboard, things and equipment were much, much more different than they are today. They had what we call jibber boots, which were like your walking snow boots, like a pair of Sorels. Also, Sorels were a thing. And so there's no help or stability or anything in those boots, as you know, or rigidity. And so I don't know how all of us don't have broken ankles to this day. Like it just was terrible. The boards were heavy. The technology of board making, they were like coffee tables. They were big, they were heavy, they were just unfunctional in a lot of ways. The bindings were different. The bindings had straps that went over the tops of your feet. You might see some old school bindings that are still like that, and they hurt. They just basically would squish your little feet down onto this board with these crappy boots that you had so much flexibility in there and no rigidity. So you're doing all the work for the board and having to huck it around and what have you. So that was the advent of snowboarding, and it was kind of an interesting thing. Again, a lot of times too, that was looked down upon. You couldn't go to certain resorts with them. It was difficult to be on chairlifts. It's still difficult to be on chairlifts, let's be honest. Like they'll put the chair down or the bar down and you'll have where, if you're a skier, you just put your skis on and you rest. Well, as a snowboarder, you're only having one foot in and it's very awkward to try to put your foot up there to relax on your chairlift days. Also, it's sometimes difficult to get off the chairlift when you have a bunch of skiers who are going certain ways and you sometimes can only go the one ways because you're on one foot. So those are kind of how I started snowboarding. And then from there, I basically would bum rides from my friends who were going up there because obviously I couldn't drive at that point and would go as much as I could and learn as much as I could, which was a long, steep learning curve for me. From there, once I got a license, I was able to go. And for some fortuitous reason, our high school at the time had like teacher development days every other week. So we'd have half days on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So guess where I was? I was on the mountain. I would drive up and I would snowboard because we'd night skiing and would snowboard until usually 9 o'clock, come back home like 10 or 11, get up, go to school. Then the other half day I would just go up as well. In between playing soccer and doing track and my school studies, if you will. Did it through college, worked, in fact, after I graduated from high school, moved up to the mountains so I could work up there. I worked at a resort in the rental shop there and used that so I could get a pass and then would snowboard as much as I could that way and then just have never stopped doing it, frankly. A lot of my friends are snowboarders. We enjoy going very, very much. We go as much as we can. So it's really enjoyable. It's really fun. I look forward to it every year. I frankly don't like the summer. I have issues with the heat. I get overheated. I don't like it. And so having the winter time, it makes me active and keeps me going. And I feel just it's much more fun for me. So that's some of my reasons why I enjoy snowboarding so much. So I pretty much live for snow That's just kind of my thing. I travel for snow. Where I live, I'm geographically close to snow. I could never move far away that didn't have snow. That was convenient for me to get to. So some of my favorite places to go snowboarding are probably in this order. So I live in the Tahoe area, so all the ski resorts here, we have great ski resorts here. I love going up to Washington. I like Whistler and BC up there. That's a huge, massive, great resort where they have Whistler and Blackcomb. Baker's up there, Bachelor in Oregon, Crystal up in Washington. Those are always really fun resorts to go to. But probably my most favorite or memorable skiing or snowboarding travels was to Japan, going up to the Niseko region and skiing up there. It was probably top 5 powder runs I've ever taken. Best snow. Trees, I'm sure just being Japan, they probably go out there and literally cut the trees, so you have perfect tree runs. I met some really cool people who I still talk to this day on that trip that were there. Just phenomenal snow. And then, of course, it's Japan. So there's great food. There's cool people. The culture is amazing. They have onsens, which is like their spas that you would go to and hang out after you ski, like an après-ski, if you will. And it's just amazing. Like, it's just such a cool place. And I encourage everybody to go there. My friend, actually, who went to Peru with me, is going to go there this January for his first time. So I'm super excited for him, and I wish I could go. But he's going to have a blast because it's just amazing. Japan is amazing. So if you can go there. This past year I went to Italy. I skied in Italy for a week. That was great, up in the Dolomites. That was a super cool trip. Andorra is another one. Andorra is a really, really super cool place. It is a principality between Spain and France. In between there is this place called Andorra, and it's basically an entire ski resort. The whole place it's huge. It is huge. You actually have to be careful of where your hotel is and where you end up skiing for the day, because you might be in another town and not be able to get back to your hotel. So it's just crazy. It's huge. And it's affordable. European skiing is a little bit more affordable than it is here in the States. I have not skied on the East Coast in the U.S. or Vermont, which is just ice skiing. So when I see or talk to people or meet people who are raised there who can ski, or from Vermont or whatever, or that kind of area, I just know that they're really, really good skiers because all they do is ski on ice all day long. So where I live is in Reno, in Nevada. Don't go stalk me, people. And we're super close to Lake Tahoe. Frankly, the only reason why people live in Reno is for Tahoe. That's my philosophy on it. We are 30 minutes from a ski resort, like a world-class ski resort from my house, which is really, really convenient. This is also the side of town I live on, so I have easy access to the ski resort. So you just get a pass, you just go up for a couple hours if you want to, and then go back to work or for school. We used to do that a lot. We'd go ride in the morning and then go do our classes in the evening and then go to work afterwards for that kind of schedule. Carried on to my adult life in that way, where I make sure that snowboarding is a priority and I get to go. I usually do a lot of work on the weekends in the wintertime because nobody wants to ski on the weekends with all the kids and everybody who's out. It's usually a zoo up there, so I like to go on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, if you will, because it's a little bit more mellow and you have the resort to yourself, which is really nice. So we have, frankly, like 7 or 8 world-class resorts here. Like, we're super spoiled living here and have our kind of pick of the litter, if you will. So that makes it really nice and accessible for me, and that's honestly the reason why I stay where I am. So this week's wine talk is a wonderful Sangiovese, if you will. It's a Chianti. It's a Libero Chianti, obviously from Italy. It's from this Fratelli Saraceni. Actually, a friend got this for us to try. It's a 2023. This was phenomenal wine. I really enjoyed it. And if you like Sangiovese like I do, or Chianti, if you will, this is a wonderful wine. Typical Chianti flavorings, nice light. Went through that pizza we had with it randomly, and it was wonderful. So here's a fun story about snowboarding, which I think is really super cool and kind of shows like the neatness of snowboarding, is that my friend who, he called me one day and he was just like, hey, when was the last time we snowboarded? And I said, legitimately, probably 25 years ago. And he's a little bit older now, and he just said, I want to learn again. And I'm like, awesome, you're in your mid-50s, late 50s, you want to learn to snowboard again? Let's do it. Like, super cool. And getting to talk with him and having him learn again, which was really neat and kind of being a fun part of, but talking with him of why he wanted to do that was that he suffers from severe seasonal depression. He gets the SAD, if you will, seasonal, depression. Annual depression, seasonal annual depression. I don't really know what SAD stands for, but it is. So he has that, and he always kind of remembered that I was usually really happy in the wintertime, that I was upbeat, that I liked being outside. I was always snowboarding and I was always doing things, and I seemed very together and happy during that time when that was a very difficult time for him because of the seasonal depression. So he thought, well, part of his therapy was like, hey, well, maybe you should try something outdoors, maybe get that vitamin D, maybe to move your body around and have a purpose to go do some things. And your friend really enjoyed it, so why don't you go ahead and try that? And he is hooked, which is super fun. It was really fun to kind of connect with him and take him up and kind of teach him how to ride again and just kind of watch that progression and kind of that pride and that excitement of fulfilling that and like getting something and being able to now link turns and get down the bigger hills and actually just enjoy the day outside and having a fun time. So that's been a joy for me this last season and going into this new season to still do that, which is really great. So that's really fun as well. The important part about snowboarding and having an estate plan in place is that it is dangerous. Hello, people die. Sonny Bono, one of the Kennedys, you hit trees. Bad things happen to you, myself included. I, in fact, almost died snowboarding. And people think, oh God, why are you still snowboarding? Well, because I'm dumb. No, just kidding. I still enjoy it. And if I could have snowboarded the rest of that season after I did my accident, I would have. It's just, I don't know, something in me that I just love doing it. So it was super important to have an estate plan in place because when I was snowboarding, I overshot a jump. I went to roll. It, in fact, actually did not work out so well. I compound dislocated my elbow joint and it took the artery with it. Took a half inch of the artery with it when it blew out of my arm, if you will. So, of course, bleeding out on the mountain, having to go to the ICU, having to get everything taken care of, almost dying, and then literally laying there going, whoops, this is embarrassing. I don't have anything in place. I don't have children. I wasn't married. Nobody was able to really technically advocate for me. My dad luckily was in town from, he lives overseas, so he luckily was in town. And they, of course, took his word for it, but technically they didn't have to. I was luckily able to communicate my wishes or communicate that he is able to make these wishes for me or to be my advocate at that time. But if I was unconscious, he probably wouldn't have, just because he wouldn't have that authority, even though he is my dad. So having your estate plan in place, if you do any kind of sports or traveling or risky activities, ride horses, I do horse riding as well, bikes, all of these things are really kind of high risk activities of getting hurt from. So making sure you have that in place just for, at the very minimum, your powers of attorney for financials and medical. So if you were in an accident like I was, somebody would be able to medically advocate for you, or also go in. For me, I wasn't able to go pay my mortgage. I wasn't able to take care of my banking or do those things because I was stuck in the hospital, that they can go do those things for you. So this is how we tie in the estate planning to snowboarding. I know it seems really like a drag, bro, but it is. Important to have those things in place for doing those activities that you enjoy doing, so you can kind of carefreely do those activities that you enjoy doing just in case the bad things happen. So in conclusion, basically snowboarding is amazing, skiing is amazing, pretty much just being outside is amazing. I just like the winter so much. I just like being outside in the winter, whether you are hiking around, you're snowshoeing, you're doing cross-country skiing, which by the way is very difficult. Man, I struggled with that. I'm very out of shape and need to get back in because cross-country skiing is legit. And doing those activities that bring you joy and bring you happiness, and whether you suffer from those seasonal depressions and you just want to learn something new or just kind of challenging yourself, there's different ways to do it. I personally just enjoy snowboarding, but you tell me what you enjoy to do during the winter time, because sometimes it's really difficult for people. I'd love to hear your ideas on that. And of course, you can always find me at yourestateplan.online. And of course, when you think of death, think of me. Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you found value, please like, subscribe, and share. And be sure to follow me on all the socials at Sips and Tips with Lindsay. And of course, you can always go to my website, sipsandtipswithlindsay.com, to find more information about estate planning, business, snowboard, travel, and of course, wine. As always, we have to get the legal stuff out of the way. I went to law school, so you don't have to. However, we have to read the special disclaimer that I am not a practicing attorney. I am not your attorney. I am not offering any legal advice in any content or any episode. All content is for your information and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for seeking your own legal advice from your own attorney or other professionals such as a CPA or financial advisor. I cannot give legal advice and do not offer any legal services or legal advice, but I do offer some fun and educational content for you to enjoy.